Hey guys, Alley Blues here, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a disco stab synth, kind of like this one. So we'll be using Operator for this tutorial. So with a blank instance, let's begin. Alright, so here's the sound you should have right now. Alright, so first and foremost, we're going to use a saw wave. Alright, big surprise here, we're going to copy oscillator A to oscillator B by right-clicking. And I also like to disable oscillators C and D. So here's the sound we should have right now. With our LFO enabled, we're going to want to select it onto the filter. And depending on the sound you want to have, you're going to want to adjust the amount accordingly. So the rate and the attack of the LFO are going to have to be more time-based, and this will be according to your tempo. In order to have a more natural kind of sound, I tend to leave the LFO unsynced. So I like to initially start with a little bit above 100 for the rate. And while holding command and scrolling, you can actually fine-tune your adjustments. And for the attack, I like to set it at around 1.2 to start off with. Alrighty, let's enable this pitch envelope. And if you want the pitch to bend, you can set that accordingly. And for the voices, we're going to want to use 2. It's kind of standard practice to use 2 for a disco stab synth. So the sound you should have is this. Sometimes you can use 3 or 4 voices, depending on how you want to incorporate it into your music, whether it's a texture or anything in between. So to clean it up, because it's starting to sound a little muddy, we can throw an auto filter on after we hit Command G and group the instrument. So drag your auto filter, and we can begin mapping things by first right-clicking on the frequency. And we're also going to want to change the filter type to a low cut high pass. And let's start off with 1000. So it's sounding a little cleaner, but it needs a little bit of oomph. So let's give it some reverb. Set it to high quality mode. And the decay time is going to be more of a tempo based thing as well. So you can set that respectively. I always like to map my dry and wet, so let's give it a shot with some reverb. So it's sounding a little bit bigger, but I think we can get it sounding a little bit better. So we can add a simple delay. And let's drop this little guy behind the reverb, and we can link it. And I always macro map the dry wet as well as the feedback. Ruh-roh, looks like we have multiple dry wets, so we better relabel them. Once relabeled, you should have something that sounds like this. This may sound a little crazy because I'm going to tinker around with it on my APC. Alright, getting there. Gonna adjust that later. And another thing that you can do is if you have a kick track, you can sidechain compress it. By entering into this menu, you can change the key input to a kick or snare, whatever you'd like. So let's move on for time purposes, and here is the overall sound we have right now. Well, that's a good starting point for you. We can start macroing other things such as the volume. And a good initial level is about negative 14 decibels. Kind of tuck it in the background. And another thing to macro could be the pitch envelope. You definitely want to macro the rate since that's going to be based on the tempo, as well as the attack. So, with these settings dialed in, you should have a good starting point. If you don't want to be as drastic with the pitch envelope, you can always adjust the decay time of the reverb. Although, once you dial it into the tempo, it should fit pretty well. Put on your seatbelts, because if we unsync the delay, it could lead to some pretty cool stuff. Oops, let me enable this. So the possibilities with this sound are endless. You can add more audio effects, whatever you like. Down below in the description, there should be a link to download this rack. And be sure to check alleycatbluesproduction.com for more free tutorials and downloads. Thank you for watching, and keep on rocking.